Hey Pet Pro, this episode is sponsored by some incredible brands we personally use and love.
And their support helps keep the mics on, so you will hear more about them throughout the show.
Okay, let's talk Super Zoo. We are coming in hot because Pet Shop Girls on Tour is officially happening.
Yeah! And we are launching season 3 with 2 epic events that you do not want to miss.
First up, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. is our Pet Shop Girls on Tour Vegas bus party.
Woo woo! And tickets are very limited, so if you want in, do not wait.
This bus party is sponsored by Aardvark Pet Products with drinks and swag provided by Frampas and Retail Smart Guys.
And yes, we are making a stop at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign for a photo op because obviously we had to make this iconic.
So if you want to ride with us, click the link in the show notes and reserve your spot now.
Then on Thursday at 2 p.m., come find us at the Aardvark Pet Products booth, number 3561, for your live Pet Shop Girls podcast recording and the launch of season 3, baby!
And right after that, we're throwing what might be the most epic booth party of Super Zoo.
Yes, and huge paws up to our amazing sponsors that are making this party possible. The Honest Kitchen, Smack Pet Foods, and of course, Aardvark Pet Products.
This is where our indie insiders will get our now famous Pet Shop Girls goodie bag filled with brands that actually support independence.
Right, so here's the plan. Tuesday night, Vegas, bus party. You need a ticket to ride. Thursday afternoon, live podcast and season 3 launch party.
Check the Indie Insider private Facebook community for all the updates. Come celebrate with us, come hang with us, and come help us kick off season 3 the right way.
We cannot wait to see you at Super Zoo.
Pet Shop Girls on Tour, baby! Let's go!
Okay, quick reminder, my pet pros. Aardvark Pet Products is not just private label.
Yes, even if you don't want to do private label, Art has a huge catalog. Chews, biscuits, accessories like brushes, leashes, and more.
And the reason we trust him is because Art is a legend in the pet industry.
I've actually been doing business with Art for over 20 years, way before he ever started the private label program.
Which says a lot about him, his business, and your belief in him.
He's always genuinely cared about independent pet retailers and their success.
Like, he could absolutely run his business differently and make more money.
But he doesn't. He built Aardvark to support independence.
And that's exactly why he developed his one-of-a-kind private label program in the first place.
So whether you're looking for private label or just great products for your store, Aardvark is 100% worth checking out.
Email art at artn, N as in Nancy, at aardvarkpet.com and use code PetShopGirls to save a little extra on your first order. But don't call Art Nancy.
Pet Shop Girls, the voice of the indie, the heart of the trade. Pet Shop Girls, unleash your power, let's make some waves.
Hey everybody, I'm Sherry.
And I'm Carly.
And welcome back to the Pet Shop Girls podcast. This is part 3 of our Recruit and Retain series, The Disciplinary Process.
We did a bad job of naming this too, because in some places I have that it's the Hire, Inspire, Fire episode or series, the Recruit and Retrain. I mean,
Well,
whatever.
Say recruit and retain 3 times fast.
I can't. I couldn't say it once. So anyways, okay. But here we are.
This is a Debbie Downer episode, isn't it?
No, here's the thing. Everybody thinks that this episode, is the one that nobody wants to talk about, right? Because hard conversations, we don't like to have them as people. We don't like to have them. But we talked about how you find your rock stars, and we talked about how you keep your rock stars. And now if you have hired somebody that doesn't fit that mold of being a rock star, you have to protect the culture and the standards in your own business that all of your rock stars are thriving in, and you can't bring that bad apple into the bunch.
For sure. I started my business when I was quite young, so it I did avoid the hard conversations. I thought maybe it would work itself out. Maybe if I did this or that, then it would correct itself, and it never does. And
No.
then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you wind up wasting a lot of time, effort, and money trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
And I think the other thing that happens there is because we're trying to either we're avoiding the conversations or trying to make that square peg fit into a round hole, the rock stars that we do have
Oh, it
kind of
pisses them
go,
off.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. They're like, why would I stay? Like, this broad never deals with anything. I'm pulling all the weight. And this slouch is sitting here coming in late, taking extra coffee breaks, not talking to customers, but she does nothing. What does
Yeah.
that say to your rock star? Like your top performers will notice how you are addressing poor performers. So
Mhm.
the whole idea behind the disciplinary process, and oftentimes people think, oh, well, the disciplinary process is to like punish and reprimand. No, the disciplinary process is all about coaching to your expectations. Think about it because of the industry we're in, like dog training. You reward the desired behavior and you correct the undesired behavior.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do with the disciplinary process.
I don't know if you watch The Big Bang Theory or if any of the
Yeah,
listeners here. Do you remember the
yeah.
episode where Sheldon tries to train Penny like a dog?
Yes,
And when she does something good, he gives her a chocolate.
that Sherry, I do that to you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. So anyway, this is about accountability, enforcing your standards, and correcting actions. So
And I mean, if you like the disciplinary process and getting caught in the rain, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through well, first of all, we do want to kind of reframe what that disciplinary process is. We don't want people to think that the disciplinary process is all bad and it's all you're going to be that mean ogre that nobody wants to work for. That is not the idea here. We're not punishing people and like beating them in the middle of your store. The first thing is, if everybody on your team fully understands your disciplinary process and the 4 steps that we're going to go through, it would never be a surprise to somebody if and when you need to terminate that person because they are fully aware of what that disciplinary process looks like. And they know that when they're at step 3, step 4 is termination. So if they
right.
don't pull up their socks, I mean, they're giving you a loud and clear signal. I don't want to be here.
Oh,
And
I do want to say, plus by documenting all of these meetings that you're going to have with the
yep.
person, that is protection for you as a business if and when they file for unemployment or file with the EEOC or whatever. You've got
Well, and
documentation.
here's what's important about documenting. And this is in every aspect of employment, not just the pet industry. I mean, I did this in my corporate days. I had files, and whether they were electronic or whether they were paper or what have you, but you always think that, oh, like the person called in sick. Oh, okay, well, that's just a one timer. And then 2 weeks
Oh,
go
you
by
got
and
to
they call in
document.
sick again.
Yeah.
You have to, because you think that you'll remember. And then when you actually get to a point where you need that supporting documentation to move forward in your disciplinary process, if you don't have it documented anywhere, you're going to sit there and go, what day was that they called in sick? Oh, it was a Wednesday. No, Tuesday. Oh, Thursday.
And
Like,
but back to filing for unemployment, I don't know how it works for Canadians or if your process is anything like ours, Carly, but I have had individuals file for unemployment and we had to get rid of them because they were late or called out a lot. And the government asked me for a list of the dates and the
yeah,
times and all that. So it's much easier than trying to remember it.
yeah,
You-
yeah,
So now we have everything. I used to keep everything on pieces of paper, like in a file, which we still do with some things, especially if we do actually have a sit down meeting with them and they have to sign a document. But for lates, now we keep all that in a spreadsheet. So my managers can easily have access to it. They can just log it real quick. and they don't have to open up their file and all that.
What I did, actually, I've created an attendance record for all of my employees. And it's literally a 1-pager, an 8.5 by 11, but it has the entire year. And then there are different codes. So R means that it was a regular shift. S meant that it was sick. LE, left early. Like there's codes, there's a legend. And then it's literally every employee has 1 page for their entire year of attendance. And that's where I can put the information to say that, oh, on this day she went home sick. On this day she called in sick. Because I don't know why you guys think people call out sick. They're calling into the business to say I'm not coming in.
Listeners, this is something that Carly and I, like when we first met, she questioned us. She questioned me and my manager that I had at the time because we were like, people calling out. And Carly's like, what are you talking about calling out? I'm like, they call out of work, right?
And in our world here in Canada, because this all Americans say that. You guys all say they call out sick. And we always have said they call in sick because they call into the company to say, I'm not coming in to work today because I'm sick.
I'd love to know what everybody thinks on that. Maybe we'll make
obviously Canada is correct because they're not coming in. That I could, if I phoned a boss and said, hey, I'm calling out today, they'd be like, calling out where? What are you doing?
And if I had somebody say I'm calling in today, and I'm like, you're coming in when?
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
So
wait. So before we get to step 1, I did want to cover, because I've become a lot more mindful about this, especially when my management is like, we need to write this person up for this. And I'm like, okay, first of all, did they know about the rule? Have we made it abundantly clear to them? Because you can't discipline somebody if they didn't know.
If they don't know, yeah.
Right. I mean, and if they made up something because they didn't know, then correct them, give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, did you communicate the expectation clearly? Did you also give them the tools to succeed? And have we talked to them before about it?
So in this case, ignorance is a defense for the law. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't know the law, right? Like I always thought that was a dumb thing with the law. Ignorance is no defense for the law, but for breaking the law. But in this case, it is our responsibility, exactly like you said, Sherry, that if we have not told them what the expectation is or what the standard is, they didn't know. Like, let's use an example here. They're mopping the floor with cold water and no soap. Did we teach them how to mop the floor? Like, don't assume or presume, however you want to say it, that everybody you hire will know how you mop your floors.
And even if you do have a sign on the wall about it, I mean, I still am like, okay, if we didn't show them and tell them verbally, then I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you correct them and they still do it wrong, that's where you go to step 1.
Yeah, that's where I would say, like, I mean, okay, so back in the corporate day, we're looking at a 4-step process for the disciplinary process. In the corporate world, oftentimes there was kind of a pre-step, if you will, and they refer to it as a fact-finding session. So
I like that.
Yeah, right. So that is definitely something that you could incorporate into your own disciplinary process to say that, okay, so Sally keeps coming in and mopping the floor with cold water. And now rather than going to step 1 and giving Sally that verbal warning, because Sally didn't know, you issue a fact-finding session. You're going to sit down. Hey, Sally, did you complete the training on how we do housekeeping in the store? Or did we talk to you about this? You want to, that fact-finding session is to figure out, what did Sally know and when did she know it?
I love the fact that you call it fact finding, because the other issue, sometimes you have issues with employees between themselves, like between a couple of employees. And there's where you really got to sit down and figure out who's saying what and which one's true. And you really got to get down to the nitty gritty, and you can't believe one over the other without hearing the other one's side.
Right. And you know that the truth is always going to lie somewhere in the middle, right? What he said versus what she said. So, yeah, your fact finding session, and essentially that is all it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that when you conduct a fact finding session that discipline happens immediately after. It means that you are literally finding out all of the facts about the situation to then make a decision. I would strongly, highly recommend that if you do a fact finding session, you ensure you do have a follow up with that person, because the worst thing ever for an employee is to feel like they're constantly walking on eggshells. So if you pull them into an office to do this fact finding session, and then your fact finding determines that, well, nothing's actually going to come of this, let them know that, so that they're not sitting there waiting for another shoe to drop because they don't know what comes after the fact finding. Or if your facts support going down the disciplinary path, then of course you would be having that meeting to say, okay, Sally, we reviewed the facts. And it is, in fact, you did watch the training video. You have been shown by management, and you even taught this person how to do it. So now here's your verbal warning. Right. But make sure that you close that loop with them, because otherwise, like I said, they just feel like, oh my God, like I'm going to get in trouble for the next time I do something, whatever. We don't want them feeling like they're walking on eggshells.
For sure. Okay, Pet Pros, I want to talk about something we've been using in my store that honestly changed how our team shows up with customers. We put our staff through Carly's Pet Nutrition Foundation course.
Yes, the exact training that I built for my own team. Because when I opened, I couldn't find anything that really taught nutrition in a practical, retail friendly way.
I remember thinking my team already knows a lot. But once we started the training, I realized how much deeper the training goes.
Ah, and that's because it's not brand based training, it's principles. We dig into food types, processing, label reading, gut health, whole food supports, supplements, and how it all connects.
And it's taught in simple, customer language. That's what stood out to me. My team stopped sounding scripted and started sounding confident.
And that was my goal. I wanted my team to explain things the way that I do in real conversations.
And it worked. My average ticket increased, supplement sales grew, customers started trusting our recommendations faster.
That's because now your team understands the why, not just the what.
Exactly. Even when I'm not in the store, I know they can guide people properly. They're mentoring, not just selling, and not relying on me to answer all the nutrition questions.
Yeah. And that consistency and expertise from your team is what builds real customer trust.
If you're serious about being a health-focused store, this is one of the best investments you can make.
And you can find it at retailbrilliance.com. Click Browse Courses and search Pet Nutrition, or grab the direct link in our show notes.
Your team will feel the difference.
And your business will too.
So step 1 is verbal warning.
And this is where I know that people think this is a big tongue lashing, right? But it's not. It can literally be as simple as, when we're going to have this verbal warning, you've identified the issue that has happened. And so you're going to note your observation to the employee. This is what I've noticed over the past 2 weeks. And here's the impact. Well, I'm not using the word impact with them, but here's why this impacts the business. And then you're going to move to, going forward, I want to see XYZ instead of ABC. And is there anything that I need to know that something's going on that's preventing you from doing things I need you to do?
I love that question, because I do like to ask, like, is there a different way we need to show you? Like, different people learn things differently. And I always ask that question, do you need this in a different format to learn it better? Stuff like that. What can we do to help you?
Or even if there's anything going, like I say this because I think back again to my corporate days. And I had an employee who was literally late every day. The shift started at 8, and every day she walked in around 8:30, sometimes 8:45. So she's a good half an hour to 45 minutes late every single day. And so I chatted with her and I'm like, hey, like shift starts at 8. You got to be here on time. Otherwise, you got to make up your time. So you're taking a shorter lunch or you're staying late, but you're getting paid for 7.75 hours. You got to work for 7.75 hours. That's kind of the deal, right? That we made. And it didn't matter how many different ways I talked to her about this, anything. I could not change the behavior. So I took her into my office and I had been made aware by her peers that her mom was very sick and it was on her. Like she was solely responsible for caring for her mom. So I suspected that this may be part of the reason what's making her late every day. And so I went through, I'm like, here's the expectation. This is what we've got to do. Is there anything that's preventing you from being here on time? No. Is there any way I can help you be here on time? No, I'll just do better. Okay. Well, is there anything outside of work that may be impacting your ability to be here on time? No. Like
well, that's on her for not being honest.
it totally is, right? And I continue to ask that question. And every step of the disciplinary process that we went down, I continue to ask that question. If there's something going on outside of work that I need to be aware of, she doesn't have to give me specific details, but she literally could have said, I am my mom's sole caregiver. And it's just mornings are tough because whatever her reason is. But she never volunteered that information. And I mean, we need to give them that because sometimes external external issues or external forces, like external hardships outside of the business can truly impact performance. And it looks like poor performance, but what it is actually is I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. This is my happy place when I come here because I don't have to think about that stuff. But I have a problem getting here because of all the stuff I've got going on outside of this work.
Exactly. So I want to go back to the formula that you went through at the beginning of this step and give actual examples. So
Yeah.
if you're talking to them, you tell them the observation. I've noticed you've been late 3 times in the past 2 weeks. Then the impact part of that is it puts pressure on the rest of the team and affects the customer experience, or whatever you want to say about that. Then the expectation is that going forward, I need you here on time every shift. And then we get into the support. Is there anything going on that I should know about or something we can do to help? So that's all it looks like. And then you definitely want to make sure you're doing this privately, not on the floor, not in front of other people. You want to be calm. That's another thing that took me a long time to figure out. In my younger days, I was a bit of a hothead. And I get.
This is why I used snacks to recreate the behavior.
I get a little steamy, like I get angry and hot, and that is not the time to do it. Cool off first.
Yes.
Then do it calmly and
privately.
You definitely want to document this. They don't need to sign anything on this one, but you want to document it and put it in their file.
Yeah, because these are the types of things that 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, 6 months from now, you're going to go, I had that chat with Sally, but what day was that? When did it? If you need to build that case to support a termination or future discipline, you need to have all of your ducks in a row. So however you want to do that, making sure that you track these conversations. And just like Sherry said, they don't need to sign this, but you need to document it so that you have track of that. And at the same time, like I know I've talked about this on the show before, but sometimes even as calm and professional as you are during these conversations, the person you're talking to might kind of get a little bee in their bonnet and they get their nose out of joint. And in instances in my store where I have had conversations with employees that were along the lines of, hey, there's a problem here and we need to fix this. When I could literally see that the attitude changed on the look on their face or the way that they were responding to me, I always say to them, you have 15 minutes to think the most worst thoughts of me that you want because I'm a terrible person. But then we're going to get right back to normal because I refuse to be uncomfortable in my own store. And they can for 15 minutes, they can go be mad and think.
And you think does that work for you?
It seems to. It has in the past. And the thing is, basically, I guess what I'm doing with that is I'm letting you know that in 15 minutes, Sherry, I'm going to be totally freaking normal with you. And if the attitude that you had when I said this doesn't adjust or shift back to normal, well, then I guess we're going down the disciplinary path further. And you didn't like the first step. So you're probably not going to like the next three. But again, this is why it's so important that your team fully understands your disciplinary process. What does it mean if I get a verbal warning? Well, and what's the next step? If I get a verbal warning, then what? But I think a lot of times too, the culture in our store will kind of dictate what that attitude looks like. They're going to go, oh crap, you know what? She's right. Like she called me out on my BS and I have been slacking off or I have been late 3 times this past 2 weeks. That's not like me. She's right. Okay. And so they get that time to think about it. And then 15 minutes later, they're like, yeah, I'm here. I like it. I gotta fix that. Like I remember one of my store managers, and she was an awesome little employee, but I noticed she was making mistakes that she didn't normally make. And she was like forgetting things that she wouldn't normally forget. And she was just kind of not herself. Like it wasn't her typical self. And so I had the chat with her and I'm like, tell me what's going on. I'm like, because XYZ, like I named off all the things. And I said, I've just kind of noticed that you're not at the top of your game. Like what's happening? And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you noticed that. She's like, I'm so embarrassed that you would notice that. And I'm like, why would you be embarrassed? And she's like, I thought I could do it. She's like, I got a second job because she was trying to pay off some debt that she had incurred from traveling. And so she took a night shift. So she was coming into my store from 11 till 6, and then she was going to work from whatever it was, 7 p.m. until 7 a.m., and then coming back to my store. And so I said to her, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how?
That's not sustainable.
No. And I said to her, I'm like, how many days a week are you doing this? And she's like, 2. And I'm like, what do you get from a paycheck? $100? I'm like, she was such a good employee that I'm like, I will increase your salary so that you don't have to work a second job and you can be 100% like here when I'm paying you to do that.
Yeah.
Which again,
Yeah.
she was embarrassed by, and she's like, oh my God, you don't have to do that. I'm like, no, you're worth it. But also like, I don't want to see you dragging your butt into my store because you just stayed up for 12 hours before you came in here. So
Yeah.
anyways, your good guys will recognize that, yeah, you know what, I dropped the ball. And it's going to be your problem children that are like, whatever, Sherry, like you think you know everything just because you're the boss. Like,
Those are the ones that you got to get rid of, which is
that's
why
the bad
move
apple.
on. We're going to move on to step 2 because they're probably going to do something again. And then you got to sit down and have a real hard conversation and actually write it out and have them cite it. I never like these. This is difficult. What helps me though is actually writing out these days I use AI to help create an outline. Because if I have a piece of paper in front of me with the actual bullet points of how I want the conversation to go and I stick to my script, it's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I brain dump into AI and then it'll make me an outline.
I would say too, here's one way that you can kind of look at this. If you have issues with an employee that are like complete opposite ends of the spectrum, 2 ways we can look at this. One, you may just kind of say, yeah, this is a performance issue, period. And I'm going to go down the same 4 steps to for my disciplinary process. Or the other way that you look at it is that other end of the spectrum is so severe that you're skipping steps. Because, right? Like, I don't know, maybe they told a customer to FO or slandered your business somehow, like on social media. And then that's just there is no process here. You're gone.
I have skipped the verbal step before. Oh yeah. And then of course there's certain things you can do that is like grounds for immediate dismissal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are all covered kind of in my employee handbook. That's where
Mhm.
I put it. Like, if these things happen, like, there is no discussion, you're gone. But what I was going to say is, if you feel like there's kind of different areas of skill sets and we're trying to correct one that is the complete opposite of another, there you may do a verbal warning for being late, but you may do a verbal warning for also like constantly giving the wrong information. Like, stop telling people that cats should eat seeds. Like, we don't do that here, right? Like, so that could be a completely different disciplinary path that you're going down, or you combine them. So there's definitely some flexibility. I think the thing that's not flexible is the documentation. So
Mhm.
we've written out the letter of warning, and essentially you're going to capture the details around the date that you did it. You could reference the previous conversation if they're kind of aligned, your clear expectation going forward. If they continue, what are the consequences? And this is the most important thing about anything that we get them to sign. Signing doesn't mean that they agree with it. Signing is acknowledgement that they have seen the document.
Mhm.
And I think it's very clear that we put that on the document. In fact, exclusively for our Substack community, I have put together a document on the disciplinary process, which essentially outlines what the process is and then gives you step by step. If you're having a verbal, if you're doing a written, or if you're doing step 3 or 4, here's the documentation. And then the last section of that little document is actually an exit interview, not to be used when you're disciplining somebody, but if they leave on good terms, that's the exit interview that you would use.
I'd like to add one more thing to this document
Yeah.
that would work in certain scenarios, and that is offering them resources. So if it's a manager that, say you have an
Or
assistant.
resources.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Process, resources. Let's say you have an assistant manager that, they do a great job overall, but like the minute you gave them some power, maybe they took it to their head and they are kind of bossing people around in the wrong way. And their management skills just aren't there.
Yeah.
That's where I would offer them some required, like, and it could be required or unrequired, whatever you want to do. It depends on the situation. But I always like to offer some type of resource, like a YouTube video or some type of training, leadership training, just to help redirect them
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
give them those tools to improve. Because it's one thing to say, hey, you can't do that, and here's why. But it's another thing to say, okay, well, how can we help you not do this again?
Yeah, and do it in line with our standards. But that's also, I think that brings us right back to what we started with at the beginning of the show, or at the top of the show. Is that how they say it when you're a cool kid?
At the top.
I don't know.
Yeah.
At the top of the show. We're not doing this disciplinary, we're not going through this disciplinary process to reprimand and scold and belittle people. We are literally going through this disciplinary process to coach the people to conform to the standards that we have identified in our store. So if that means that there are particular tools that we can provide them to coach them and mold them into the rock stars that we want them to be, then yes, of course we want to give them that. We don't just want to like say, like, figure it out, guy. Like, we hired
Yeah.
you. Don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You
actually,
can't assume anything.
no, you can't. And we did too, it was episode 114, coaching young managers to actually succeed, the leadership system. We built out the leadership system, and it is detailed on how you want to build those young leaders in your business. And again, and for our Substack members, if you're not part of Substack, and you want that playbook on how do I develop young leaders in my company, become a Substack member, because you get access to everything that we have in there, and the leadership system is in there.
Oh, and by the way, Substack right now is $12.99, but the price will go up in August to $19.99. So get in now. Okay, we're moving on to step 3. Shameless plug. Step is the
Oh,
final
boy.
written warning.
Yep.
Yeah, I do want to say you told me a long time ago. I do not come from corporate, so I didn't even know something like this existed. I really want you to talk about a PIP. A
Okay.
PIP is when you really do want to try to salvage that person. Say it's somebody who's been with you for a long time, like years and years, and you've got to this step 3 and you're like, "Dang it, you know, what other kind of lifeline can I use here?" And that's what the PIP is, right?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. So a PIP, which stands for Performance Improvement Program or Plan, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it can be used as that coaching, let's get this employee back on track tool, which I have seen. But it can also be used as an exit tool where you're like, this person it is like they're just not getting it. And now I'm going to literally document it and I'm going to work with them week after week after week for probably 4 weeks to prove that they just can't do the job. So a PIP, essentially a performance improvement plan, is essentially a 4-week plan that I would sit down with Sherry and I would say, Sherry, here are the issues, A, B, C, D. What I need you to do is I need you to do 1, 2, 3, whatever those are. Like, I'm going to clearly outline my expectations and where Sherry needs to be performing in order to successfully pass that week. And I say pass that week because this 4-week plan, you meet with the employee every week to sit down and review. Are they meeting or exceeding the objectives or the expectations that you have put forward as this is a requirement of your job? And if she is on week 1, great. Then on week 2, we're going to meet again and we're going to see if she's meeting or exceeding that. If on week 1 she's not, you have to do some course correction and you have to figure out, okay, like Sherry, here's the expectation. Like this is already 1 week under your belt that you haven't met these expectations. Week 2, we got to make some changes. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same boat. And so you are still trying to correct the behavior and mold the employee. And maybe you're using this because it's a long time employee that was a shining star and they fell off their perch for some reason and you don't want to give up on them. Or again, it could be the other side of that where you're like, this person just isn't going to get it, but I want documentation to
Right.
prove
So
that they're not getting it.
a PIP is a lot more robust and takes more effort on everybody's part
Oh
to
yeah.
really try to salvage them. But a basic step 3, your final written warning, is you're going to reference both the verbal and the previous written warning, and you have to state clearly if this behavior continues, your employment will be terminated.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do this one more time, and then you got to get them to sign it.
Yeah. And again, okay, here's the thing. They don't have to sign it. Legally, they don't have to sign
Oh, okay.
anything.
Well, yeah.
And so
Then I would
that's why,
document that they didn't sign it and put it in their.
and you absolutely would. Yeah, you absolutely would document that the employee chose not to sign, blah, blah, blah. But that is why
point,
you,
at that point, I'd be like, you know what? If you're not going to sign it, then let's just call this a day. How's that?
well, so much for 4 steps, eh? But okay, no, that's why I'm saying that you very clearly want it stated where you're asking for their signature, that by signing this does not acknowledge you agree. It simply acknowledges that you have seen this information. So that if somebody's like, I'm not going to sign that, like you're saying that I talk badly to customers. I don't talk badly to customer. Like if that's where the disagreement is, no, I'm not asking you to sign this to say that you agree with this. I'm saying you're signing it to acknowledge you've seen it.
Well, I also like to leave a spot for them to write their own notes or
Oh yeah, they could
their own
for sure.
thoughts.
You could, yep, you could absolutely do that. Hey, Pepro, have you outgrown your current POS system?
Are you looking for something more modern, more streamlined, and, dare we say, a sexy POS system?
Because if your system is clunky, outdated, or just not helping you grow, we need to tell you about the Pet Shop Girls Preferred Frampause Package.
That's right. We partnered with Frampas and negotiated this package specifically for independent pet retailers, and the savings are real.
Yeah, we're talking lower merchant fees, a better email package, and a hardware bundle worth over $2,500 and more.
So this is not just a prettier POS. This is a sophisticated system designed to help you grow smarter and save more.
If you want better tools, better support, and better rates that you did not have to negotiate, as well as a system that actually feels like it's built for where your business is going,
go to 2petshopgirls.com/Frampos. That's FRANPOS for more information and to book your discovery call.
That's 2petshopgirls.com/Franpause. And make sure you mention code PetShopGirls to score the savings that we've already negotiated for you.
Pet Shop Girls is a paid partner of Frampos.
The other thing I'm going to note here is that, again, depending on the setup of the organization, so let's just go back right to the beginning very quickly. There could have been a fact finding. Then there was a verbal. Then there was a written. The third step in some instances can be suspension versus that final written warning. But typically the suspension, and again, it's going to depend on the situation.
Dude, if you have to suspend somebody, that's a 99% chance it ain't going to work out.
That in the corporate, like in my corporate world, that literally third step was suspension. And sometimes it depended, sometimes with pay, sometimes without. Put it this way, cops, okay?
Yeah,
police,
yeah.
Sorry,
This is retail.
It is retail, but their suspension is with
It's
pay.
like there's no crying in baseball. There's no suspension in retail.
There's no suspension in retail. Well, I mean, I guess it would depend how big your organization was, how critical this person was to your organization. So I just want people to know that that can be an option, is that your third step is not necessarily the final written, but it is suspension. And again, it doesn't matter. When your whole team knows there's 4 steps to the disciplinary process and I'm at step 3, like there's no surprise that you're at step, or there's no shock. We're not keeping these steps secret from them, but everybody knows that step 4, you're out the door. And
right. So let's talk about step 4.
So step 4, and this is where I'm saying, if you ever get to you probably will never have to get to this step, because anybody who is at step 3 and still chooses to do the thing that they have gone through 3 steps of getting in trouble for, or are coached for, however they want to look at it, they're looking for another job before step 4 even happens. And they'll give you their notice because they know what's coming next when they've decided, I don't want to wear black socks. If that's your rule, Carly, that I have to wear black socks, I'm going to continue to wear my lime green neon socks, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. I'll go find a job somewhere else. Like, right? They know.
So I kind of want to talk about, like, what is the best way to do this? Of course, in person is the best, but over the course of 20 years, in certain situations, we have done it in a text. And that's usually somebody
Diabolical, but yes.
been there for a couple days. And like the younger generations, honestly, some of them would rather have it in a text than have it in person anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they've been with you for a long time, you definitely need to do it in person. I also want to give this tip. You need to escort them to get their things and then escort them out, or have a manager or somebody do it. Because the last thing you want them to do is to go to the back to get their stuff and then
trash the place,
steal things,
steal stuff. Yeah.
just because they're.
When you need your key back, don't forget your key.
If they have one, yeah. Of course, by the third written warning, they probably wouldn't have a key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not going to say that I haven't done it on text either. I have done it on text twice due to the circumstances. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it has been in person with my written termination letter.
Oh, here's another scenario too. So, like, I have a management team, so I'm not there all the time. And let's say you have a manager that they're good at all the things, but they don't have the authority to hire or fire. But this person that has had the third written warning, messes up again, what I have instructed my team to do in the past is to dismiss them for the day. Don't fire them, especially if they're not comfortable doing that.
Right.
Just dismiss them for the day. Say, you can go home. Go home now. Then that buys you time to meet with your management team and figure out a game plan as to the best plan of action on how to officially terminate.
Is it, I think we've talked about this actually. So here, if you come into my store, I have to pay you for 3 hours if you've
Yeah,
shown
we
up
don't
for a
have
shift.
that. We don't.
You don't have that. Okay. So what I would say to, if this is, I don't know if this is labor laws across Canada or if it's specific to Saskatchewan, but if you have that kind of thing where you must pay a minimum amount of hours for somebody who shows up for shift, first things I would say from an HR perspective, we don't fire people on Fridays or like the last day of their week. We don't fire them on those days. And there is some psychology behind that if you've lost a job that you actually really enjoyed, and let's say this was a surprise because maybe you're just not that bright that you figured step 1, 2, and 3 happened and now I'm getting fired. Where did this come from? It can be obviously a blow to the ego. It can be depressing. It can be, you don't want people going home to an empty house for the weekend or what have you. It's just kind of on a safety side of things, you don't want to do it on a Friday or before a long weekend or something like that, right? Where you don't know what this person's going home to. If they're going home to that empty house, they don't have a family, they don't have a dog. You don't know how upset they're going to be. So typically I wouldn't do it on a Friday. I would also do it at the beginning of the shift when they come in, regardless if you have to pay them for 3 hours or not, because this is what I have done at the beginning of the shift is when I have this conversation. I'm not going to make them work their whole shift and then sweep my floors and say at the end of the, oh, by the way, here's
I have
leather.
done that with a groomer before.
Yeah.
Well, they
shoot,
already had dogs booked and
yeah. Yeah.
again, it
I
depends
would
on the situation.
Yeah, I would say the kind of, I guess, if you will, like hiring, firing etiquette would suggest that you either do it at the beginning of the shift or if there's an opportunity, like I know the one person that I did end up having to do over text, she had called in sick 3 days in advance, not 3 days in a row, 3 days in advance. She called in to say she likely wouldn't be able to come in on her shift on Tuesday. She called in on a Saturday, wouldn't probably be able to come in on Tuesday for her shift because her kids were sick.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay. So anyways, she didn't come in, but she was expected to be in on Wednesday because will you be here Wednesday? Oh yeah, no problem. And then Wednesday, she also called in sick. I'm like, that's it. Cause I was doing it Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. So you sent a text saying, yeah, we don't have any more hours.
Yeah, well, I sent her a text that I've sent you an email terminating your employment. Please let me know if you have any problems because obviously your priorities are with your family, which is fine, but they're not here, and that's where
And then, by the way, if they get angry and start blowing up your phone with a bunch of text, just block.
You've got that.
Well, yeah. First of all, screenshot it for documentation purposes, and then block.
Yeah.
So
I think
we didn't actually say what this step. We gave a bunch of tips here, but step 4, you do want to say you want it to be very simple. So I would keep it short, sweet. Hey,
and not
I want to let you
emotional
know.
again.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to let you know today's your last day. As we've discussed, X behavior hasn't changed, and we need to move in a different direction.
And so here's the thing too. It is a conversation, but I have always documented my termination in the form of a letter to the employee. And then I stick to that script, right? So if I'm talking about here's the issue why you're being terminated, I don't also verbally include, and you did this on a Tuesday, and you forgot to take out the garbage one time, and. No, it's whatever is in that letter. Here's the reason why you are being terminated, and I stick to that script. And it's very matter of factual. Again, it's in private. You're not doing this on the middle of your floor in front of customers or other team members.
Oh, that's another good tip. Have a witness with you. So if you have a management team, you want two managers in there or yourself and a manager, just somebody else as witness in case they go cray-cray.
Wow. Okay. I did have one that I suspected may go cray cray, and I actually voice recorded.
Oh, I've been
I had
Yeah.
I had a witness. I did have a witness, and I voice recorded the termination just in case, and also
They
because
threatened or something. Yeah.
well, she was a filthy liar about everything. So I wanted to make sure that I'm like,
Not just
if
a
you
liar, a filthy one.
a filthy liar, yeah. But yeah, and it's, I mean, so this is obviously, like I said, this one is probably going to be the one that you're the least practiced at. Because again, if all of your staff know your disciplinary process and they know that they've got to step 3 and they still haven't pulled up their black socks and are wearing their lime green slouchy socks, they're looking for another job. You are likely not getting to this point. But if you do, again, I do have an example of a termination letter in the disciplinary process document that will be in Substack. But I'm again,
Tip.
you what?
All of these corrective actions we've been talking about need to happen as soon as possible after the behavior happened. You
Yep.
can't wait 2 weeks or even a week after it happened and do this. It's like correcting a dog. Back to the dog analogy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
correcting a dog on a bad behavior the next day. They're
Yeah.
not going to remember.
No.
It's not going to be as purposeful. So you've got to do it as quickly as you can.
Your corrections are just like SMART goals, right? Where they're specific, measurable, actionable, blah, 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 timely. And so whether you're acknowledging good behavior or bad behavior, the timeliness is a critical piece. But I think too, if we go back to like kind of how we started out with this, the whole idea behind the disciplinary process and having that documented, you don't just want to like verbalize it to your team. Oh yeah, just so you know, like if you piss me off, I'm going to do a verbal, then a written, then a final written, then I'm going to fire you. No, your process needs to be documented, accessible so that everybody understands it. And at the end of the day, you're not doing this to punish people. You are doing this to protect the culture in your store and the standards that you have set so that everybody is held to the same standard.
Speaking of that, let's talk about the aftermath. So this is like post step after number 3 there. And that's
4. After 4.
Step 4.
Yeah, when they leave or they've gone.
So you want to update the rest of your staff as to what happened. I'm sure they already knew, but
do not air your dirty laundry.
Right. You don't want to badmouth the person. You don't want to say bad things. You could say something like, we have made a staffing change, but just don't say anything bad to your staff, to your customers, or online. It makes you look like the one that's wrong. It makes you look bad. But I always, at least with my management staff, I'm like, okay, what could we learn from this situation?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have like a meeting with them about it. But, take a moment and reflect and then move on.
Well, and that's too, I mean, when you're not terminating an employee and the employee is leaving of their own free will, they've decided. Now, even if you've gone down the 1, 2, 3 steps, so they've got they've got that second written warning. And now they've given you their notice because they're like, you know what? No, I'm not about wearing black socks. So I just can't work here. And they come and they give you their notice. That is a perfect opportunity to have that exit interview, to understand, because then when you sit down with your management team, you actually have some feedback. I likely would provide that to them as a written document so that they could sit down with their own thoughts. I think it would be more truthful than if you sat there and interrogated them in an interview style. They're going to kind of be like minimal participation. But when somebody's leaving on their own terms, and even if it's slightly tainted, or good terms, give them an exit interview so that you can learn, why do people leave? Why do people leave my business? And hopefully, if you listened to episode 127, yes, last week's episode, the employee check-in can kind of glean some insights there as well. Because one of the questions is, have you thought about leaving? And if so, why? Like, so then you can kind of start to course correct. Maybe it's, well, because this store smells like fish all the time and I hate like smelling like fish. Like that's something you can fix, right? Or maybe it's like, because I don't like that Carly's eyes are always crossed. Well, that's something I can't fix. So,
Or it's like, I don't like opening shifts anymore. I want closing ones. Well,
that's
maybe
a
they didn't tell
fixable
you.
thing.
Maybe
Yes.
you can try to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So there's lots of gold in here. In this 3-part series, there's lots of gold. So if you haven't listened to the other 2, go back, listen to those. Substackers, you're getting all of the supporting documentation, including like how to write a great job posting. You're getting the checkpoint. You're getting all of the goodies, the disciplinary process, and the diamond detector.
I love that name. Yeah.
I love that. And I love the diamond detector. I wasn't sure when I created
You're
it.
proud of yourself on that one, aren't you?
I do like it. Yeah. Because I wasn't sure. And then when I first used it like live and in the wild with people, I'm like, this is effective. Like it immediately gives you the information that you need rather than humming and hawing and going, well, I kind of
And
like
if you
what he
don't know
said.
if you don't know what we're talking about as far as the diamond detector goes, check out episode 126 and also our Substack. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any final closing thoughts, Sherry?
please identify who the bad apple is on your team right now and do something about it.
What if they don't have a bad apple? What if they have all rock stars?
And congratulations, you are a lucky, lucky person.
Oh, all right. Well then, until next time, Pet Pros, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you like the disciplinary process and getting caught in the ring. All right, Pet Pro, that's it for this week.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
Just hit all the buttons.
And if you want more, join us in the Indie Insider, our private Facebook group for pet pros.
Then you'll never miss the podcast that makes you sit, stay, and beg for more. The Pet Shop Girls.
Pet Shop Girls.
Carly, what's your cat's favorite instrument?
The percussion.